السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبعد. So we're going to continue inshallah with the 40 Mutawatir Hadith. Again, just a quick reminder about your brothers and sisters in Palestine. Do not forget them. Do not forget them in your dua. Do not forget them. Help them with what you can. If you can donate, please donate. If you can attend an event, please attend an event. If you can refute the lies that are being told, please do that. Do not leave them alone. Like, do what you can. You know, they are your brothers and sisters. This is their right over you. Right? So do what you can. And whatever you can, it's not only dua. Anything that you can do, please do. Okay? And do not say this has been going for so long. Allah alam how long it will continue. And this is your ibtila, and this is your test, and this is thing that you should be involved. This is your concern. It is your brothers, your sisters. Do not leave them alone. If you cannot be there with them physically, and you obviously can't, make dua, donate, do whatever you can to make this thing, to loosen the thing. Don't say anything will not matter. No, everything matters. Dua matters, donation matters, events matters, all those things matters. Even, tackling those lies matters. So please do not give up on them, and keep mindful of this. Not say it's been too long. No, Allah alam how long. It might stay like this for 6 months, for 1 year, for 10 years. Allah alam. And still do your part. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask you about what you did, not about the results. The results is not ours. What's going to happen next is not ours. What is ours and what is under our control, what are being assigned, is that what we can do. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The Hadith number 13. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل صلاة. رواه البخاري ومسلم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, were it not that I might make it hard for my ummah, I would have ordered them to use siwak, like the brush, at every salah. And this was reported by Bukhari and Muslim. This hadith was reported on the authority of 28 of the Sahaba. From them, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, Aisha radiallahu anha, Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anhu. So, who is Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anhu? Abdullah ibn Zubayr ibn al-Awwam al-Qurashi al-Asari. Abdullah ibn Zubayr from Banu Asad, from Quraysh. Abu Khubayb. He was the knight of Quraysh. He was the Faris of Quraysh. The knight of Quraysh during his time. And he was the first kid or first to be born in Medina. After Muslims immigrated to Medina, this was the first child to be born in Medina, Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anhu. And imagine how happy the Muslims were when he was born. There was this rumor that the Jews of Medina made magic for the Muslims so that they're not going to have any offspring. Till Abdullah ibn, and this stayed for a while. For a while, they didn't have any new babies. Allah anhu how long, like maybe 4, 3, 5 months. Then Asma radiallahu anhu gave birth to Abdullah ibn Zubayr. So imagine how happy the Muslims were at that day. He attended, of course, when I'm telling you that he was born on the first year of Hijrah, so the Prophet ﷺ died when he was about 10 years old, right? So obviously he haven't attended any of the Ghazawat, right? Like he was too young for that. But he attended some of the Futuhat and the conquests. He attended the conquest of Africa, and usually when we mention Africa, they mean Tunisia, Tunis, right? At the era, and they call it Afriqiya, and it's been Tunisia. At the era of Osman radiallahu anhu. And he took the oath to be a Khalifa on the 64th year. This was in Mecca. He ruled 9 years. During these years, like his rule was extended. Like what he actually controlled was extended, except for the part in Sham where the Banu Umayyah were. And then there started those battles between him and Banu Umayyah, and one of the main leaders of the army of Banu Umayyah was Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Saqafi al-Taghiyah. And he was one of the army leaders for Al-Hajjaj, for Banu Umayyah, and was actually a governor. He was not only just leading the army, he was actually ruling some places. And it was, battles happened for those 9 years, and then the war ended on the year 73, when Abdullah radiallahu anhu was killed. After Hajjaj bombed the Kaaba with the catapult, with the catapult? Yeah, they threw rock at the Kaaba to make him surrender. And then after people, left him, and then he fought him till he was killed, radiallahu anhu. He was martyred, radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Zubayr. Abdullah radiallahu anhu reported 33 hadiths. In the books of Sunnah, you can find 33 hadiths reported on his authority. And from his virtues, that when he stood in Salah, he stood like a column or like a rod, like a pole. He wouldn't move. Even during the siege, when they were just throwing the catapult rocks at Kaaba, the rock would just, pass by him, maybe touch his clothes, and he's just standing up straight. He's not bending, he's not kneeling, he's not, looking aside. He's just looking as if he was a pole. He was actually undisputed in 3 matters: courage and worship and eloquence. Like when he speaks, he was very, he was very eloquent when he was talking. Osman radiallahu anhu chose him among those who copied the Mus'hafs at the time of Uthman. Remember, when we mentioned this before, we made the compilation of the Mus'haf. We had this stage one was at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, then the second one was at the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu.
So would you elaborate more in this part? Like the part of compilation of the Mus'haf, what is the difference between different copies of the Mus'haf?
This is another topic. We mentioned it before. We might mention it again.
Yeah.
Anyways, we can mention it very, very quickly. Very quickly. Okay. After the Prophet ﷺ died, the Mus'haf was not. The Quran was revelated, but was not compiled in one book, right? So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu assigned Zayd ibn Thabit to go, meet the Sahaba, all of them, and see everyone, what do you memorize, what do you have written. And then he had a criteria that he will not only accept that either something that at least 2 of the Sahaba know, or 1 know, and there is something written that with 2 witnesses that this was written at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. This was the first gathering or compilation. This happened and stayed like this during the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, then the time of Umar, then sometime during the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Then Hudayfa radiallahu anhu came. Muslims were fighting was fighting the 2 empires at the same time, the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. Then at some battles they met. It was actually met in Armenia, when the conquest of Armenia. And then those who were in Iraq learned the Quran from some of the Sahaba, and those who were from Sham learned from people who were fighting the Romans, learned from other Sahaba. And then when they met, now they found that they had some differences. So they started arguing, they started fighting. So Hudayfa radiallahu anhu told Osman, you need to find a solution to this. You cannot leave Muslims like this. Otherwise, they'll start fighting. They'll start, not accepting each other and say that, no, I'm right, you're right, there's Quran, there's not Quran. So I told them, yes, we need to stop this. So what Uthman did, radiallahu anhu, made the second, got those papers, or got the sheets, or got those, they were not papers, like the tablets that were written during the time of Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, and called 4 of the Sahaba. Those 4 are Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and Abdurrahman ibn al-Harith ibn Hisham, and Sa'id ibn Abi al-As, and then Zayd ibn Haritha too. Zayd ibn Thabit. Okay? Zayd ibn Thabit is from Ansar. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, Abdurrahman ibn al-Harith, and Sa'id ibn Abi al-As. 3 of them are from Quraysh. So Uthman told him, okay, now I need you to come, copy those tablets, and we're going to make some mushafs. Like we're going to make, like this will be the reference, and we're going to send them to the major cities. Now you're writing. If you agree, then no problem. If you disagree, then write what the people from Quraysh read. Why? Because Quran was revealed in the tongue of Quraysh, not in the tongue of the Ansar, right? So if you agree, there is no problem. If you disagree, then what you say or how you read it as people from Quraysh, then this what will be fit, and the other will be we're not going to accept it. Okay, so Abdullah ibn Zubayr was one of those of this committee that took this task. After that, Uthman radiallahu anhu sent those, like one to Sham, one I don't remember the cities, but he sent again. There's also different narrations where they 5 copies, where they 6 copies, where there 4 copies. He sent every copy to one of the major cities. He kept one for himself in Medina, and this is what is called the Mus'haf al-Imam. Okay, so the main thing is that Abdullah ibn Zubayr was entrusted with that. He was one of this committee. Okay, so siwak or miswak, siwak actually means the action and the rod itself. The rod itself that you brush your teeth with, and the action are both called siwak. And the brush itself is also called miswak. Okay, and siwak is recommended and is not mandatory by consensus. Like scholars in general agree that it's recommended, but it's not mandatory to use siwak. Okay, of course it was mentioned about Dawood al-Zahiri and Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, but the narration is not authenticated about them.
Is it sunnah to use miswak?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Recommended means sunnah. Okay. When is it recommended? Like normally we say it's recommended. Recommended all the time, but there are some times that is more. This recommendation is highly recommended or more recommended before wudu. And it's we said before wudu. This is when we mentioned before every salah. It means when you're making wudu, make wudu and then pray. Even if you're fasting, if it was before or after noon, before or after the dhuhr, okay? And this is what the Malikis say, that it's okay to make siwak before or after dhuhr prayer, okay?
What about those tiny pieces that come out that
And we're mentioning that siwak becomes strongly recommended, especially during those 5 times. Before salah, and with or before wudu. Before, like if you don't need to make wudu, still it's recommended to siwak before praying, before reading Quran, after waking up, and when there is an odor from your mouth, whether it's from not eating something smelly, or not eating at all for a long time, or not drinking, or you're quiet for a while, you stopped talking for a long time, then you find that your breath changed, or that you've been talking for a long time and then you have the smell. So all those times are recommended to use the siwak in. The best siwak is the siwak taken from arak. There's a tree known in the desert basically, and it's known in Arabia, known in North Africa, the arak, and then you take this rod and then you use it. What if you don't have arak? Then anything available, okay? And we're mentioning that it's recommended to use the arak siwak, whether it's dry or wet, but take care. If it's wet, it's disliked or not recommended for a person who is fasting. Why? Because it leaves taste in your mouth. You're not allowed to actually swallow this taste. It might invalidate your song. Okay? So coming back to your question, if you have some pieces, now if there's a siwak that is okay to use, like the dry siwak, use it and spit normally when you use siwak, what do you do when you brush your teeth? You rinse your mouth, right? Same with the siwak. When you use it, rinse your mouth and get those tiny pieces out, even if you're fasting. Of course, if you're fasting and you got rid of what you can, and then there's some tiny piece that you cannot get rid of, this is forgiven. That you can't do anything about this, right? And we said, if arak is not available, then any other plant or anything that is rough just would clean the teeth. So, would a finger suffice? Can you just use your finger? Yeah, scholars have different opinions, right? For the Malikis say, yeah, it's enough. You at least get rewarded for the sunnah, even if you're not cleaning it enough. For the Shafi'is, they had like actually 3 sayings, or 3 opinions. Yes, no, and third one, if it's rough. If your finger is rough and you're using it, that would doing some cleaning, right? Sorry, yes or no, and the third one, if there is nothing else to use. That is my mistake. I said what I said was wrong. The Shafi'i madhab is that 3 opinions in the madhab. Yes, it suffices, the finger, or no, it doesn't suffice, or it suffices only if you don't have something else to use. Also, it's recommended that the siwak that you're using is not very soft and not very hard. Very soft is not cleaning. Very hard, it would bleed your gum and would hurt you. And when you're using the siwak, you start from right to left, okay? And then on the tongue, from front to back, okay? And you start from the right side.
The tongue, you said front to back?
Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, it's disliked to use something that would hurt your mouth or or hurt your gum. And the scholars mentioned something like, it might be a little bit funny. They say it's disliked to use a siwak from a plant that would color your mouth. Why? Because it looks like a girl. So it's disliked. You don't do that. You don't want to look like a girl, right? Also, it's sunnah to wash siwak before using it, like clean it and make it, wash it if there's something in it before using it. What else I want to hear? Yeah, again, when I mentioned that it's disliked to use a wet siwak for a person who is fasting, same goes with the toothpaste. Okay, toothpaste is disliked in siyam and when you're fasting. It will not invalidate your sawm except you find its taste. If it slips and goes to your throat, yeah, your fasting is invalidated, right? Even if you didn't mean to swallow it. Why? Because from the beginning it's disliked. Okay, do it before fast, do it after fitar, after breaking the fast. During the day you can use either a dry siwak or a brush without toothpaste, and do leave the toothpaste to after and before Fajr and Maghrib. This hadith also, if you see it, the Prophet ﷺ said, like, if it was not out of fear that he would make it hard for the ummah, for this nation, he but ordered us to use siwak before every salah. Meaning to say that if he ordered, it would become mandatory, right? So this means that anything that the Prophet ﷺ orders is mandatory, unless there is a context, and then there is a context that changes this. This context can be in the same hadith or in another hadith. Example for the same hadith and the same text. When the Prophet ﷺ said, "Oh, pray before Maghrib, pray before Maghrib, pray before Maghrib, if you wish," then it's not mandatory anymore, right? Then the Prophet ﷺ ordered the person who comes into a masjid to not to sit before praying 2 rakahs, right? Like the Tahiyat al-Masjid, right? And then in the other hadith, when the person came and asked him about the salah, he told him 5 prayers during night and day, or during day and night. He asked him, "Is there anything else?" He said, "No, except if you want to make tatawwu," which means that those are the mandatory salah for every person, okay? Then the next hadith, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اتقوا النار ولو بشق تمرة. رواه البخاري. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, protect yourself from the fire even with half a date. This is reported by Bukhari. And this hadith is reported on the authority of 12 of the companions and 3 of the followers. 12 Sahaba and 3 Tabi'in. From those companions, Abu Hurairah, Abu Bakr, Aisha, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abu Umama, والنعمان ibn Bashir. Abu Umama, Suday ibn Ajlan al-Bahili. Abu Umama, Suday ibn Ajlan al-Bahili, one of the companions, lived in Hims in Sham, had said that he pledged under the tree. You know when the pledge under the tree on the day of Hudaybiyah. قد رضي الله عن المؤمنين إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة. You know the story, right? When the Prophet ﷺ went to make Umrah and then Quraysh didn't want him to go back, so and then he sent Uthman, and then they kept Uthman in Mecca. So the Prophet ﷺ started taking this pledge from the Sahaba that if we're going to attack, we're going to attack, and you know. And those 1,400 Sahaba who attended this are actually rank high in the ranks of the Sahaba. Come right after the people who attended Badr. And Abu Umama radiallahu anhu was Ali radiallahu anhu of the day of Siffin. He was in the army of Ali radiallahu anhu in this dispute between him and Muawiyah. And he died in Hims on the year 81. And he reported 250 hadith. Muhammad ibn Zayd said, I saw Abu Umama come to a man in the masjid while this man is making sujood and crying. This person in the masjid making sujood and crying and making dua. So Abu Umama, he told him, you will be him, or you will be you, like praised, if this was in your house. Like, why are you making a scene? If you want to do this, do it in your house, right? Of course, some situation a person might do that, and he gets like sensual, or have this sentiment when he's doing that. Even if it's public, he's not intending to do that, or didn't mean to do that, didn't mean to show off, then it's okay. But generally speaking, this should be in your house, not in public. So Iman ibn Amir said, we used to sit with Abu Umama, or sit to Abu Umama, and he would report to us a lot of hadith about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he would say, understand and deliver on our authority what you hear. Like Abu Umama said, mentioned the hadith about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I was saying those who were sitting to him, understand, memorize, and deliver. This hadith, they mentioned, اتقوا النار ولو بشق تمرة, guides us to do from the good deeds what would protect us from the hellfire. Even if this good deed is something very small, do not say no, it's not effective. No, it is effective. Like imagine what would a split date do? Okay? Like we might be eating, I was about to say 5-6 days, maybe we're going to eat, $half a box in one, just before dinner. Right? This happens, right? No, even if it's half a date, and you're paying it in charity, let's say no, this is so little it wouldn't help. No, it would help you. Also, there's an encouragement to pay sadaqah, even if it's with the least amount. Right? Sadaqah is highly praised and highly recommended. Even the least amount. Even if you have $1, half a dollar, 20 cents, make sadaqah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts sadaqah. And again, this was a lot, and I assume that you heard it. If you're paying $1 and what you have is only $100, and someone is paying $1,000 and what he has is actually $1 million, by percentage you're paying more than him, or you're giving out more than him, right? And this thing, the sadaqah, shields you from hellfire. So be generous with it, okay? And we're saying the sadaqah is recommended, and this recommendation is more like, it's more recommended in certain times. In Ramadan, when there is a serious event, like something serious happening, or people are in need for this, for your sadaqah, then it becomes more recommended. When there is a solar eclipse, also, when you're sick, when you're traveling in Mecca, in Medina, during jihad, in Hajj, in virtuous time, like 10 days of the Hajj and Eid. All those times, it's recommended to do sadaqah in.
I have a question. Like, we shouldn't like give money, or I don't know. Like, is it allowed to give money to like kafirs or something?
Yeah, there's a short answer. Yeah.
Like, say you have a shop, right?
Yeah.
A sushi shop, right? And you're thinking about tipping them, but then you remember the ayah that Allah doesn't like the kafirs. If Allah doesn't like the kafirs, why would you give money to someone that Allah doesn't like?
Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is feeding them.
That's true.
Okay? Yeah. And the Prophet, and the hadith of the Prophet, في كل كبد رطبة, in every wet liver there is a reward. Okay? Even if you're going to give a drink to a dog, if you get some water to a dog or a cat, this is rewarded. Okay? Yes, if there is kafir, they don't take from the mandatory zakah. Yeah, there's not for them.
Yeah,
But
zakat is for poor Muslims only.
Yeah, there are 8 types of people who are eligible to take zakah. But generally speaking, charity you can pay it to anyone. Okay, this is the short answer. Okay. The one thing that you shouldn't miss, that sadaqah should be from the surplus that you have. Okay, like you need to take aside or first keep your main needs or your needs and the needs of your dependents. Then pay sadaqah. Okay. Actually, if a person pays a sadaqah that would affect the need of his dependents, now it's a sin. Because providing for your dependents the needs is mandatory upon you, right? So you don't go on asking for giving sadaqah and affecting the mandatory thing that you have to do.
This may be a separate discussion, but if you can answer shortly. So, in our context, Canadian context, what's the amount of money that you need to have aside for family? Because 1 year of rent is impossible to save.
It depends on there are many factors here. The number of family, the social level or social class, with the type of of income you're getting, the type of work you do. Like there are people who get, for example, an employee that is getting paid every month. Okay, and now at the end of the month, he finished the what he have to pay for this month and all the needs for his dependents, and then there is surplus. Let's say $10, and he goes give them those $10 as sadaqah, right? Next month, like tomorrow, is going to get paid the new paycheck, right? This is different, and then another person who's just like a self-employed, and then he still needs to know what's happening. There, money is coming, and money is, and he's having expenses, having income, and then things are still not clear, maybe you should just set aside what he needs for 3-4 months or even a year, whatever he wants, whatever he plans it, and then pay sadaqah. Like the Prophet ﷺ used to keep his or the expenses for his wives and dependents for a year, and then even he would pay sadaqah the rest. Like let's say he gets 100,000 and his expenses 20,000, he would keep the 20,000 and then pay the 80,000. Okay, next hadith. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كل معروف صدقة. رواه البخاري. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, every act of goodness or kindness is considered sadaqah or is sadaqah, and it's reported by Bukhari. And this hadith is reported on the authority of 14 of the companions, from them جابر بن عبد الله, حذيفة بن اليمان, عبد الله بن مسعود, عبد الله بن يزيد الخطمي, أبو ذر, بلال, وعلي بن حاتم رضي الله عنهم.
Sadaqah is basically charity, right?
Yeah. بلال بن رباح رضي الله عنه. بلال بن رباح الحبشي التيمي. الحبشي means from Abyssinia. التيمي, Laxid. Banu Taym is the family of Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه. And Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه freed Bilal. Bilal was a slave, and Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه bought him and freed him. So when there's a slave that's freed, then there is this patronage to the person who freed him. That's why we call them at-Taymi. Okay? Because there is a patronage belongs to the emancipator. And this actually, there's actually consequences to this. Meaning to say that if this person, the freed man, after being a free, and then he dies and he leaves property, and there is no family, it goes back to the emancipator. Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu, the muaddin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, used to do the adhan for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and one of the early Muslims, who was tortured in the cause of Allah and was patient. Like he is a role model in this, in being patient under torture for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Attended Badr, Uhud, and all the battles with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died, he went to Sham for jihad and died on the year 20 after Hijrah. Reported, or the hadith reported on his authority, are 44 hadiths. And from his virtues, radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he will be in Jannah. Like in many hadiths, he mentioned, or even the hadith when when he asked him, why do I hear the sound of your footsteps in Jannah? What did you do? And Bilal told him, I never make wudu except that I do pray 2 rak'ahs. So the Prophet ﷺ said that he is in Jannah. Anas radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, Jannah has longed or like missed Ali, Ammar, and Bilal. Imagine that when someone is missing someone or longing for someone, Jannah has longed for those 3, Ali, Ammar, and Bilal. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, the first to declare Islam were 7. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr, Ammar, his mother Sumayya, Bilal, Suhaib, and Al-Miqdad. Allah protected the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr with their families. They had big families, so those families protected them. The rest were taken by the polytheists, the kuffar of Quraysh. They took those for torture, who put them in shields, put them in iron shields. Imagine we're putting them on them the iron shield, like making them wear it, and throwing them in the rocks in the heat of Mecca for torture in the sun. Every one of them, like every one of those 5, responded to them, surrendered at a moment, told them what they wanted to hear, except for Bilal. He found that himself, or considered himself, cheap for the cause of Allah. He who considers himself like his soul cheap for the cause of Allah. And the people saw him as a weak person and cheap. And they poured on the torture on him. Even they gave him to the kids to walk him in the streets of Mecca for torture. And all of this is saying, Ahadun Ahad. Ahadun Ahad, uniquely one. That Allah is uniquely one, Allah is uniquely one. Then Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu bought him. While he was buried in rocks, Abu Bakr went to his master, that was buried in rocks. If you went to Mecca before and you forgot your shoe or flip-flop or whatever and try to get out of the mosque, you cannot touch the ground. Now this Bilal was buried in the rock in the sun for torture. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went and bought him for 5 ounces of gold. So they thought after they took the 5 ounces, told them, you know what, if you insisted on one, we would have sold him for one. So Abu Bakr told them, if you insisted on 100, I would give you 100 to buy him. An example, you cannot comment on that, right? Like, now every time things happen to you, you will never reach that. It doesn't matter what happens, you'll never reach it. You're not going to get buried in rocks in the sun of Mecca. Bilal radiallahu anhu, few years later, in the conquest of Mecca, when Mecca was taken by the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ controlled Mecca, he ordered him to get on top of the Kaaba to say adhan, to call for the prayer. Al-Ma'ruf, we mentioned that kullu ma'rufin sadaqa. Al-Ma'ruf, or the right or the good deed, is what the Sharia or what the religion considered it good. And the opposite is the evil, al-munkar, which is the Sharia or religion considered evil. As an example, let's say a man and a woman decided to be in a relation. They're both contenting and they're both happy. Is this good or bad? Why? They're not hurting anyone. Yeah, they're not married, but again, they're not hurting anyone. They're consenting. They don't hate. Actually, they love each other.
Are they Muslims?
Regardless, is this right or wrong?
Okay.
Wrong.
Yeah, wrong. Why? Where did you get this ruling from? What is the metric?
They're causing fitna.
No. The Sharia is telling you this is like the Sharia is telling you this is wrong. To have a relation, you need marriage, right? So this is the right way of doing it, right? Another example. What you need an opposite example. What? Circumcision. You're cutting part of the, of the skin. Is this good or bad?
Good.
Why?
Cleanliness.
Yeah, cleanness, and you know this good from the Sharia, right? Okay. Of course, the Sharia, when you speak, Sharia will not order something that is like, if you have a sound mind, if you have a proper mind and a proper fitra, you will see that what Sharia is ordering you to do is good, and what is preventing you from doing is bad, right? Sometimes you don't get it from the first look, or sometimes when things like this fitra or this innate nature is flipped upside down, you don't see it, or you don't see it or don't understand it. But the main rule is that what the Sharia ordered is what is good, and there is goodness in it. And if you just give it the least thought, you will see it, right? And on the other hand, what the Sharia prevented you from doing, prohibited, there is evil in it, right? And of course, there are a lot of things that are, well, actually, most of the things are not pure good or pure bad. There's always this mixture, right? Maybe 90% good and 10% bad. Deed or act of kindness that you do with the right intention will be rewarded. It will be considered sadaqah, it will be considered charity. Sadaqah was praised in the religion, in Quran and Sunnah, right? And the recommendation of doing sadaqah was stressed in many texts. So souls, hearts, people will just aspire to do this sadaqah. Like, I want to pay sadaqah, I want to pay sadaqah. But not everyone will have money, or will have enough money, or have, like, you want to pay sadaqah, but all you can afford is $10 a month, for example, right? Or $5 a month, or even $1 a month. So that's it, nothing else to do? No. Now this concept got extended to include other things. Actually, to include all the good deeds. If you don't have money and you still want to do sadaqah, there are ways to get rewarded for sadaqah. Especially for things that you can do, like helping people and things like that.
Is it just like to save up money?
Sorry?
Is it just like to save up money?
No. Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala reported on the authority of Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu that some of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, O Messenger of Allah, the rich have taken away all the rewards. They observe the prayers as we do, and they keep the fast as we do, and they give sadaqah from their surplus riches, and we don't have this money to pay sadaqah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, hasn't Allah made something for you to do in charity? Verily, in every tasbih, like saying Subhanallah, there is sadaqah. Every takbir saying Allahu Akbar is sadaqah. Every tahmeed saying Alhamdulillah is sadaqah. Every tahleel saying La ilaha illallah is sadaqah. Commanding the right and forbidding the wrong is sadaqah. Amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar sadaqah. You say, tell someone to do something wrong, or tell him, or forbidding him from doing something wrong, this is sadaqah. And having intercourse is sadaqah. So he said, O Messenger of Allah, does one of us indulge in his desire and get rewarded for it? So the Prophet ﷺ said, have you considered, if he was to do it unlawfully, in haram, would he have for it a burden of sin? Would he get a sin for doing it in haram? They said, similarly, when he does it lawfully in halal, he gets rewarded. So this tells you that the range of sadaqah is big. Other hadiths also mentioned, like, someone you need to help him. You help someone to get, to load his, his animal now, maybe his truck or his trunk, or someone is, carrying a heavy weight, you're helping them. All of those are forms of sadaqah. So do not get limited. If you don't have enough money, don't get limited. If you have money, pay from it, and also do those things. Okay, so we are at 45 minutes. Do you want to continue another hadith or conclude? I'm getting mixed messages. One more? Okay. Hadith number 16. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المستشار مؤتمن رواه الترمذي. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم says, the one who is consulted is entrusted. Okay, and this is reported by Imam Tirmidhi. And this hadith is reported on the authority of 15 of the companions, as counted by Shaykh al-Kittani rahimahullah ta'ala, from those Abu Hurairah, Salama, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Jabir ibn Samura, and Nu'man ibn Bashir, Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and the rest. Salama, al-Mu'mineen radiyallahu anha. al-Mu'mineen, so she is the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salama, Hind bint Abi Umayyah al-Makhzumiyah. So her name is Hind bint Abi Umayyah al-Makhzumiyah, from Bani Makhzum, from Quraysh, from the early immigrants. Before the Prophet ﷺ, she was married to his foster brother, Abu Salama ibn Abu Salama ibn Abd al-Asad. He was one of the pious companions. Then he died, radiallahu anhu. And after being widowed, the Prophet ﷺ proposed to her and married her on the fourth year after Hijrah, in Shawwal, in the month of Shawwal. And she was one of the most beautiful and honorable women from Quraysh. And she was also one of the jurists, fuqaha sahabiyat. She was one of the knowledgeable sahabiyat. And she had, her children were companions. She had 3 children, no, 3 companions are her children. Umar ibn Abi Salama, Salama ibn Abi Salama, and Zainab bint Abi Salama. 3 of them are Sahaba, and 3 of them are her children. Of course, 3 of them, none of them is the son or daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the Prophet's children are from Khadija, except Ibrahim from Maryam. So she lived close to 90 years, and she lived till she knew about the to 90 years of age, and she lived till she knew about the killing of Al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. When he was martyred, and she got this news, she was so sad, even fainted, and didn't live long after that. So she died on the year 61 of Hijrah. So what is the relation between her and Al-Hussein?
Well, Hussein was the Prophet's grandson.
Yeah.
So her step-grandson.
Yeah, she's her step grandson. And she reported 378 hadith. Consulting, doing consultation and talking with people you trust is recommended in Quran and Sunnah. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala splits the knowledge between people, right? And every person might see a different angle of the matter, right? When you want to do something, then I can see it from this side and you can see it from the other side, and when we discuss and consult, you might see something that you consider very good for you. And when you talk with your brother, who you trust, he can tell you, yes, you see it good, but take care, this might be this downside for it, right? So that's why it's recommended in Quran and Sunnah. The person who is fit to be consulted should be, first of all, in an upright and just, like adl. Like, you not get someone who's who's unjust, or like a fasiq, and just start consulting him in your matters, right? Basically, when a person asks you for advice or consultation, you must be sincere for them. For this person who is asking you need to be sincere in giving him advice. Remember the hadith, ad-dinu nasiha, like religion is sincerity, and for Allah wa Rasul and His Messenger and the leaders of the Muslim and the public, ad-dinu nasiha lillahi wa li Rasuli wa li kitabihi wa li immati muslimina wa ammatihim, for Allah, for His Prophet, for His book, for the leaders of the Muslim and for the public Muslims. Again, so when someone is asking for consultation, you should be sincere. You should tell them what you think is in their best interest and benefits them.
What if it's like, it may sound rude, but you have to also be kind?
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah. You can. Now this is on you. You don't want to be rude, but you need to tell them. No. Yeah, like you tell them. You can tell them. You know what? Brother, I've seen this before. Our one dear brother had the same opinion and did the same, but this didn't end well for him. So I think you should know that and take care of it. If it might end this way, right? You don't need to tell you stupid idiot. Don't do that. You don't need to do that.
So consultation in professional setting, it's usually the kuffar, right? So does that count as consultation?
Yeah, of course. Like especially, especially if someone is paying for you, like you need to do the good thing for them, right? Now, when you're consulting, you're doing the good for them. Do you have to give the consultation? Is another topic, right? But if you're consulting and you're giving consultation, don't mislead them, right?
No, I meant not contracting or consulting, or I meant doing shura. So say you're looking to climb a career ladder, right?
Yeah.
And you want to consult somebody about. So does that come
Yeah.
under this, or is it?
Like you're asking someone, you're consulting someone, and he might not be a Muslim, not be a kafir, right?
Yeah.
Again, kuffar are not all the same. Some of them will try to find a way toward you, right? Some of them are like that, and some of them would give you a sincere advice. So
It's like when I, for example, I have a need to buy something, and I do like I ask my friends, close friends, Muslims for advice. Then I do like istikhar. Yeah.
Istikhara, yeah?
Yeah, istikhara. Yeah. It's like it's the same case. You mean like?
Yeah. Now when you ask your Muslim brothers, okay, I want to buy this car, for example, okay? Yes, brother, this car is very good, but take care, it burns fuel, like they call it, like a pig, right? They say that it will cost you a lot in fuel. And the maintenance is not good. They need to tell you the truth, okay? They tell you the pros and cons. This is good in that way and bad for that way, right?
As far as I know, it's from Sunnah, yeah?
Yes, from Sunnah. But now, if you're giving consult, if they give you, you must tell them what is their best interest.
Yeah, that's like
You tell them the truth. You do not conceal it.
you should ask advice from like wise people, yes?
Yeah, of course. We're coming to this now. So when a person asks you for advice, you must be sincere to him. Like you need to give him the sincere advice. And also, if there's a secret, you should keep this secret. Right? Sometimes someone will come and ask you, okay, I want to do so and so, right? Even you tell him, yes, you can do it, or no, don't do it. Whatever you tell him, don't go back, and over dinner just discuss it with your wife. No, it's a secret. Keep it. Do not mention it. Do not, go tell your brothers, this brother actually came and asked me so and so. No. Okay? Because actually you can cause him harm. Right? You can cause him harm. Like imagine someone, your coworker, for example, asks you, okay, what do you think about going? I want to apply at this company and I want to go there. And you tell him, no, you know what? It's not a good company. Don't go. And you're sincere. And then you're talking with the other coworker. This guy is asking me about this company. I told him, no, don't do that. Why does he want to go to this company when it's that bad? For example, right? Word moves, goes to your manager or the HR, who are basically intending to fire one of the coworkers because they want to downsize. So who is the first candidate now? The guy was looking for work, right? And then you hurt him without any reason. Also, Umar radiallahu anhu said, consult in your matters who fears Allah, right? Well, the person who fears Allah will give you a sincere advice and will not tell you to do something wrong, right? So the person whom you should consult, if it's about religious matters or religious rulings, first of all, he should be knowledgeable, like he should know someone who knows what he's talking about, and pious, right? You've seen them, and I guarantee you've seen them. You've seen people who have tons and tons and tons of knowledge, but they're actually devils. They give you everything to do the wrong, and he gave you every justification for doing something wrong, right? There are those devils who just would twist all the text to reach whatever they want, right? You've seen them. So make sure that it's also pious, right? If it's in worldly matters, then he needs to be like sound mind, someone who's rational and have experience in what you want to do, and who wishes the good for you. Someone you know or expect him to wish the good for you, right? Don't go consult your enemy. Don't go consult someone that you know that is, envious or doesn't like good for people, and someone with some experience, right? Like because he was going to give you the conclusion that he maybe spent few years to reach it, right? And of course, someone who is, aqil, someone who is rational. Otherwise, he can be, if you consult a stupid person, you can, you don't, you know what you can do, like, you don't, imagine you just want to consult a small kid, what shall I do and this and that. He's not going to give you a proper advice, right? Similarly, if this person is dumb or stupid, he's going to, he's not going to throw you under the bus, but he's going to, maybe his consultation would hurt you, right? Okay, so I think enough for tonight, inshallah, and next week we'll try to take another 3 or 4 hadith, inshallah. جزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا والحمد لله رب العالمين.